I just love this book. And immigration has become, in a way, the defining issue of our moment. And how we think of ourselves as Americans, how we welcome others, how we don't welcome others, and basically the relationships we find between ourselves and people around the world, and how we develop intimacy and bonds in those relationships has become the defining, really, issue of our time. And so it's just an honor. I love this book. I really love this book.
Oh, thank you.
And one of the things I want to talk about is, now in our political debates, we think of immigrants as people or as an issue, but immigration is an experience that people go through as they assimilate or don't assimilate or just come to this country. And I wanted to walk through that experience. But I thought the first way to enter this process is just to tell you, like, give us a description.
Yeah.
People have some primer on, like, what's your life been like so far?
Well, first of all, this is actually my first time talking about writing this book. So you have an early copy of the book that's going through the final copy editing process, just FYI. So, like, this book doesn't come out until September 18th. So I'm just honored that you even are the first people to see it. I just told David that when I was writing this book, I was thinking a lot about, again, conversations about identity and race in this country and where immigrants fit in that conversation. I think too often when we talk about identity in this country, it's very black and white, right? In a country that is no longer just black and white and had never really been black and white, right? But how do you talk about that in an era in which anxiety among white people, which you've written about, this incredible moment that we're at right now, kind of an artistic black renaissance that's happening. So where does this fit in all of that? And I have to say, this is my first book. I've written like maybe 3,000 news articles since I was a kid, but this book was like, it was like an emotional root canal. When I turned in the first draft in March, my editor goes, "Have you ever seen a therapist?" Because I guess I wrote the first version of the book like I was reporting on someone else. I learned how to write by reading The New Yorker, right? And so I've just kind of copied that style. And so I was like, I thought I was profiling this guy. And my editor was like, you're actually this guy. And the comments on the margins were like, how did you feel? How did you feel? How did you feel? And then I started thinking, since I've been in this country since I was 12, when I was sent here by my mom from the Philippines, lived with my grandparents, so this is like the outline, then found out I was undocumented when I was 16 when I went to the DMV. This was like 1997 in California, like in the Prop 187 era, right? So I thought I was the only non-Mexican undocumented person. That's what the media said, right? This is about Mexicans. It's not about Asian people. But since I was 16, I didn't think I was allowed to feel. I just thought you just try to kind of pass and lie your way through the passing, and then you hide. So actually, the book, as you'll see, those are the three kind of big outlines, right? Lying, passing, hiding. That's the experience of, I think, every undocumented person in this country. Even more, I think, undocumented black, undocumented white, undocumented Asian immigrants that are not a part of the conversation. Right? I can count how many undocumented white people I meet at Starbucks who are just like, hey, I'm here without papers too, but I'm white, so I pass. And my accent is English or French or German, and people think it's a good accent versus a Spanish, Mandarin, Korean accent, right? So thankfully, that when my editor, Julia Shafet, said, have you ever gotten therapy before? The answer was no, except I've seen every episode of Frasier. That was part of passing. So I wrote about this book feeling like I was going through therapy. Like it was such a gift to be able to have the privilege to write it and make sense of what has happened. I'm a grown-ass man. I'm 37. So been here 25 years in August. And I don't really know how I got to where I got. And so the book was a way of kind of reconciling with that.